Hi, my name is Patrick Verdonck, and welcome to another Talks at Rhineland. Today I've got with me the founder of Blueprint Power, Robyn Beavers. Welcome, Robyn.
Thanks for having me.
Robyn, thank you so much for being available to talk. It would be great if we could start with you telling the viewers a little bit about yourself, what you do, what your company does, and the path that took you to be where you are today.
Great. Yes. So as you mentioned, I'm the CEO of Blueprint Power. We're a New York City-based startup that focuses on turning buildings into revenue-generating power plants. And I'll explain a little bit more about what that means. But just real quickly, my background, I actually studied civil engineering. So buildings were my first love, believe it or not. And then I spent the next few years focused more on the energy side at Google. I kicked off Google's green operations team, kind of their first efforts in greening their global footprint, which was a really exciting time. And I learned a ton and I got hooked. So after that, I dove squarely into the energy space and worked in different innovation roles at Vestas, NRG, the Department of Energy, and a couple other places. So Blueprint is my first standalone startup that I founded, and but it's really built on a lot of experience I've had in the energy and a little bit in the real estate space too. Just before Blueprint, I was helping the largest home builder in the US, Lennar, invest in technology and also continue to think about how energy impacted their business.
Great. Well, that's really interesting. So when we talk about energy transition, there's a lot of talk, and deservedly so, about wind and solar and now batteries. And a lot of these technologies either have come of age or already or coming of age, as we speak. A lot of CO2 emissions come from other fields, whether it's transportation, which obviously we're starting to address with EVs, but carbon emissions coming from buildings is something that we're starting to address. And some of it can be addressed by just using clean energy to feed into those buildings. But I think what you're doing is more innovative than that. So if you think about big picture, what is the challenge that your company is trying to solve? You're really excited about this challenge over the next 10 to 15 years.
Sure. Yeah, so the way I tend to look at it is, the growth of renewables has been breathtaking in the last 15 years, predominantly on the large scale utility space. And then of course, there's been some great growth in rooftop solar for homes. But this kind of in between distributed generation opportunity for commercial and industrial buildings, which are responsible for over 2/3 of energy consumption in the US, which is kind of pairs with their carbon emissions. It's a great opportunity, A, because it's there, it's relatively untapped. B, it really brings into focus the solution, like modern tech solutions that other industries have benefited from. So, data and communications layers, like true network theory, thinking more about software that versus like the physical hardware, and kind of building new platforms on top of buildings and the energy infrastructure they support. So from a philosophical perspective, it's exciting. Kind of growing networks is similar to what I saw at Google. It's what a lot of people see in the tech space. And I feel like clean energy has been like waiting for that moment to start accomplishing additional exponential growth and scale. So that's what I think is exciting. Also, what's exciting is Blueprint. So what we do is we help buildings generate flexible capacity from on-site energy assets, and then we sell that capacity to the grid. And the reason the grid takes it is because it needs it. It'll help the grid continue to work. So the way we look at what we're doing is we're helping the buildings decarbonize, but we're also helping the grid, decarbonize by staying balanced and able to support not just buildings as power plants, but the growth of more large-scale intermittent renewables.
Yeah, so it seems like you're providing a lot of the local capacity, which is becoming increasingly important in load pockets like Southern California, the New York area. So that's really been, I guess, something that you've been able to contribute to the grid as well.
Yes, yeah, congestion and density, impact the grid in addition to new things like EVs and lots of wind farms and solar farms. The things we love.
That's very exciting, and it's good to hear about people approaching the greening of the grid from the other end, from the load side and from the consumption side. That's really interesting. So one question I ask all my guests is, if you were to give a little bit of advice to yourself when you're just out of college, age 22, 23, and you're embarking on a career in entrepreneurship, in energy transition, what advice would you give yourself, thinking back at all the things you've accomplished since you've started your career?
Sure. So what's exciting about this whole energy transition happening around us is all different types of energy industries are becoming intertwined. So when I graduated from undergrad and was hopeful and wide-eyed about the world, the last thing I wanted to think about was the oil industry or the natural gas industry, and I was very passionate about solar and other kind of more clean, renewable industries and technologies. But it's actually, the advice I would give is you need to understand the entire spectrum of energy because they all impact each other, they always have, but now even more so. So you shouldn't be, tunnel vision about one specific technology or clean fuel. You actually need to understand how all these industries intersect and impact each other here locally, but also globally.
Excellent. Well, they're very sage words. Robyn, thank you so much for being on the program, and all the best.
Thanks very much for having me.